I don't want to set the world on fire.
Welcome once again, everyone, to the newest episode of the Foally of Man. I'm Robert, and with me here today,
Chris.
Hey. So today
Now
we're going to have a little.
They know better than that by now.
They really do. If you don't, then go back and see the other episodes. Watch it from the beginning. So today we're going to have a little bit of a special episode. We're actually going to be we're going to look back at the book we just went over, the portion of the story we just went over, like the book, and we're just going to kind of run over what's happened, look at what's going on, and then kind of look out and see what's going to happen later on in the story.
Yeah, flashback. So for those of you who are interested in the story, now's your chance to tap out. This will be a clip show. Well, not really a clip show. This will be a recap show. So we'll be covering old material and covering some new questions. I mean, there's definitely new material, but we're kind of giving a chance for anybody who has missed
It's a
up to this
breather.
point. Yeah. We just finished the first book, and we're going to be catching up. So there's a couple of things that I know you wanted to touch on. Do we want to give a quick kind of a plot synopsis up to this point? Maybe it's better since...
Yeah, go ahead. Give the people kind of your view as to...
Oh, you want me to give a plot synopsis?
Well,
All
I
right.
already know
Okay.
what's going on.
No, I know. All right. It's more work for me, and I don't want to work. That's why I live in a vault. So, Little Pip is a character that lives in a vault. I don't remember the name of the vault at this point because it's been a while.
It's Stable 2.
Sorry, Stable. Yeah, Stable 2. She's in love with Velvet Remedy, a famous singer of the vault who runs away. And Little Pip has Velvet Remedy's Pip Buck and gets into it and finds kind of out where she's going. And so when it turns out the Velvet Remedy left the stable, Little Pip leaves the stable too, against the orders of the Overmare.
Leaves the Stable 2.
Yes. And immediately starts getting in trouble and is saved by a character named Watcher in a sprite bot, and calamity ensues. So we meet a character named Calamity a little bit further on in New Appaloosa. Yeah, New Appaloosa. Adventures happen. We meet Ditsy Doo, who's a ghoul character, who's also a traitor, and the creator of the Fallout Wasteland Survival Guide. Let's see here. I'm missing out. Which Little Pip finds at the school, right? The school, the library? Library.
Yes, the library. And she also finds Ditsy Doo there and frees her.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. Sorry.
Because Watcher hinted like you need to find a book. Wink, wink.
Little Pip is also a unicorn with telekinetic powers and learns from Crane about how to lift heavier objects. We also, in raiding and freeing people from a slaver camp that was reached by train, Little Pip discovers a very powerful alicorn that she has to basically drop a train on top of.
Yeah.
Alicorns are seen as divines in this world, and Little Pip doesn't know what to do with that. Let's skip forward a little bit to... we find Velvet Remedy, save Velvet Remedy, and then Calamity, Velvet Remedy, and Little Pip are no longer welcome in New Appaloosa, so they kind of have to go out and on their own. We get in with Gaudina Grimspeak, right?
Grim Feathers.
Grim Feathers. Why did I say Grimspeak? It must be a Harry Potter or something. Anyway, so Gaudina Grim Feathers and Dead Eyes, and we find out, actually earlier in the story at the bar, we find out about Red Eyes, and that's when Little Pip thinks Red Eyes is their leader.
Yep.
And let's see here, what else? And then the coup, where Gaudina and Deadeyes both try and use Little Pip to kill each other, and Little Pip kills Deadeyes because he's a son of a bitch. And let's see here, and that's when we meet Mr. Topaz.
Mr. Topaz.
Who's a giant fucking dragon. There's no other way to describe it. He's a giant fucking dragon. And there's all sorts of memory orbs down in the mine where he's at. Well, actually in the vault, the stable. I keep saying vault.
It's not a stable. It's just the mines.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
they were hidden away in a vault.
In a vault.
That's the reason they threw you for a loop. That's because
because in my head I had vault. Yeah, you're right. Now I keep trying to correct. I'm overcorrecting. But anyways, all the memory orbs that were taken by force, by psychic ponies, for the Ministry of Morale. That's right. Okay, and I think that's where we left off. Yeah, they get away.
Yeah, and then
Calamity comes in with a giant fucking gun and basically blows a hole or weakens the side of Mr. Topaz Little Pip throws some grenades down Mr. Topaz's throat, which normally wouldn't do anything because he's a dragon, but because his sides were weakened and injured, it blew out his sides and guts everywhere.
Yep.
And friendship is magic. So I think that gets everything up till now.
And they forgot Velvet Remedy.
Yeah. Classically, they forgot Velvet Remedy.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good synopsis. There was the train sequence. There was them coming across ghouls for the first time.
Right.
There was the rock farm.
Yep.
The rock farm.
Yep. Which we've talked about the rock farm.
Yep. On top of that, it's just a great introduction. We're meeting we met characters, our baseline characters. There will be more people to meet and more adventures and more friendship later on in the story. So, I wanted to go over how accurate do you think this is to the source material of Fallout? How accurate so far would you say this follows? Do you see any references to Fallout in here? Do you see any things so far? There will be more in the story later on, which you will definitely be able to point to and say, that's from Fallout 1, that's from Fallout 2.
So you're talking about,
3.
well, obviously, everything's from Fallout, except for the names. I mean, there's a few esoteric things that are My Little Pony, but the whole world is Fallout, basically. But if you're talking about specific story references, that sort of a thing, there's been some Easter eggs. There's been a few things here and there, particularly with the stage. We talked about that in the last episode. But other than that, I'm kind of looking forward to see what else comes along.
Yeah, and there are other things that will pop up that are directly from the Fallout series, and you'll be like, oh, wow, I never... The way they're applied is actually quite smart.
I'm kind of interested to find more like weird mutated creatures. Like that's what I'm interested to see more of.
They'll be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like we right now we're just dealing with bloat flies, stuff like that.
Bloat sprites.
Oh, bloat sprites. Have we come across those?
Yeah, one shot darted her
right.
in the decrepit forest near
That's correct.
Ponyville.
That's right. That was a while ago now. This is episode 11.
Yeah, and that would have been episode 2, 3,
something like that. We covered a couple of chapters in one of those earlier ones.
Trying to remember which one is which. Anyway, but yes, yeah, all fantastic, all fun. So people keep asking this. So this is the episode where we're actually going to do it. Where do you think the story is going?
Where do I think the story is going? Well, obviously, friendship is a core in this story. Also, friendship being tested is a big part of this because in My Little Pony, I would guess that friendships are tested, but in a very whimsical sort of a way. There's not a lot of whimsy in this story. Yeah.
No whimsy.
Yeah, no, not particularly at all. So my predictions are, I have a feeling Little Pip is going to spiral into addiction. I think we're going to see that continue to be worse. I also don't see Little Pip getting better at handling different personalities. I mean, Little Pip has a little bit of an antisocial personality anyways, so she's very direct. That's her thing. She's just very direct. This is what needs to be done. I need you to do it. There's no please. There's no would you. There's no what do you think. It's, there's a lot of...
I want to take you into consideration here. What do you think your best skill... No. It's sit on my horn and spin.
Yeah. Pretty much. So I see more of that. Obviously, Calamity is going to get them into more trouble. As for specific plot elements, Watcher is an important character. And obviously, at some point, we have to find out who Watcher is. Again, I hesitate to say who I think Watcher might be.
At this point, I almost be willing to say, go ahead and take a shot. And then, because I'm not going to react to it. People in the comments, please don't react to it.
My feelings, because it's just based on instinct than any actual knowledge, so it's mantic knowledge. Watcher has got to be connected to the original ministry in some way, which means he's got to be someone important. And so I have a feeling that, I do know some other characters on the show, but I definitely feel that Watcher is a character from the show that we've seen, that it's somebody well known, that's part of the reveal, that here it is. So, my first kick is like maybe Spike, or maybe Rainbow Dash or something like that, but I don't know.
No, those are actually interesting guesses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
they're interesting. They're completely wrong, Robert. You have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm still interested to see, and obviously Watcher is somebody who has found a way to survive. Watcher reminds me a lot of like Mr. House.
Yeah, I mean, this
From New Vegas.
this is a world with ghouls, so anyone could
be
exist,
a ghoul.
could exist for eternity. So you're dealing with any of them,
Or use magic to find a way to sustain themselves. We can't write that out because remember, the plot device is magic.
Little does Robert know that it's actually Carrot Top.
Oh Lord! Well,
And not the comedian Carrot Top, the side character Carrot Top.
there's a character in My Little Pony. You know, why do I even ask? Of course, it's horses. Ponies. There's going to be a character named Carrot Top.
Yeah, of course there is.
They're really big into a clop comedy, huh?
Oh boy. But no, I think honestly the reason I'd want you to say is because this is supposed to be kind of a spilling of the mind. We're trying to expose the internal thoughts of somebody who's reading the story, somebody who may not know what the source material is. Obviously, we have a whole bunch of people who haven't played the games who enjoyed the story, but because we haven't had really many people who haven't enjoyed My Little Pony who were reading the story, so it's just it's from that perspective.
Are we going to find out any more about Applejack and the gun manufacturing and that sort of thing?
We're gonna learn a lot about that, a lot about all of them. I mean, this is actually why I prefer. I don't know whether I should reel this, but it's kind of on the fence. But one of the reasons that I prefer this over Fallout as far as story is concerned is because so much of the history is outlined, connected, placed, has purpose.
Right.
It's not just a blanket. Oh, so yeah, this. Yeah, no, the world just ended. Why? Because it just did. Shut up. Stop talking. Then again, if Ron Perlman tells you to shut up and stop talking, you'll shut up and stop talking. It's just the truth. That's just what's going to happen.
I'd pretty much do anything Ron Perlman asked me to do other than something sexual because, ugh.
We all saw Quest for Fire. I didn't forget.
There wasn't a lot of consensual sex in that movie.
And the one time it was, he wasn't the one getting it. Okay, so that's been the story so far. Are there any comments you want to make about it that we haven't touched on yet?
Well, I feel as though I see a lot of comments, and I love that we have as many people engaged. I know what everybody wants. Everybody wants to me by the end of this book series to have a Rainbow Dash hat on and have a Twilight Sparkle shirt and be a totally converted Brony.
You see how it falls over? It doesn't work. That's exactly what this is working. This is exactly how this is going to work. You're going to continue to project Rainbow Dash onto him, and it's just going to fall off every time.
I identify as Rainbow Dash, but I'm enjoying this. Make no mistake, it's a good story. It's very well written, and I love Fallout. So that from that aspect, I'm enjoying it. I would, as we go through it, I may be willing to recommend it to other people who enjoy Fallout, but not necessarily My Little Pony. I would tell them to give it a chance.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you like puns, which I do, you're going to enjoy that. Which leads me to our next segment, the Pony Pun of the Week.
The Pony Pun of the Week.
Look at that hot graphic there. You can't see it, but they can see it at home right here. This hot shit graphic we got right here.
I'm not good enough. I'm just not good enough.
Christopher, the Pony Pun of the Week is buyer beware.
That's right. If you're a mayor and you're out and you're buying shit, buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Now, the term for that in Latin would be caveat emptor, which is buyer beware. But how would we do caveat pony? I don't remember what the word. Well, equus. Yeah. So
caveat impequus.
No. It's something.
I don't know what B is. I mean, isn't B implied?
No, it wouldn't work like that. You'd have to combine the word for beware and pony, and caveat is the term for beware.
So cavequus?
I'll figure it out.
Latin, not even once.
Yeah, there's not as much wordplay in Latin as there is in Japanese. The Japanese, it's very easy to do wordplay. You just combine words that don't make sense. It's not so for meals, there's asagohan, hirogohan, and bangohan. And so I came up with happy hour, which is Biru gohan, the beer, and gohan translates to rice, but when you're talking about meals, it's like morning rice, midday rice, evening rice. But if you say beer rice, it's like, haha, this is my beer meal, and that always gets a chuckle.
Yeah.
So
There you go. There's some Japanese for those inquiring in the audience.
People are like, now they know. Now they understand. They're like, oh, I see. He's Japanese. That's the thing. They're like, why would he agree?
You are not.
I know.
You're not a weeb.
We know. We know plenty. But they're like, oh, so that's why he'd agree to read a My Little Pony fanfic.
Well, I'm done with all the anime. What's next?
Yeah. That's actually, we know some people who have seen all the anime. They actually have to use a website to keep track of the series they've completed, and they are completionists.
I'm kind of shocked there's such a website, but there exists one. Yeah.
Are you an MLP completionist, or do you want to admit that you haven't been watching the last couple seasons?
I'll admit it.
This is an intervention.
In what direction? Is it the intervention where I've been watching it too much or too little? I can't tell.
It's the intervention of me and the community at large to get you back into watching My Little Pony.
But it'd have to be good. Which I know a lot of people are going to say it is good, but it's like if you spent a lot of time reading up on how stories work and story elements, there's only so much you can do with 23 minutes.
How many years has it been on now?
2011, 2012?
It was that late? Huh.
I think so. Yeah, I think it may have been, it's 2010.
Yeah.
2010,
okay.
That's right.
I feel like we talked about this. Well, I think it's time we get into a couple of listener questions.
All right, start me off.
All right. Stargear says, Chris, have you played Ashes of Equestria, a Fallout Equestria game by the Overmare Studios?
Yes, I have, and the only reason it's titled Ashes of Equestria, there's two reasons. If you look up on the blog, they actually give you...
Ash Ketchum is in it. It's a Pokemon My Little Pony Fallout Equestria fanfic.
That's a little bit too much crossover. That's way too much crossover. And
it's cloned Ashes. It's Ashes, plural. There's many of them.
Okay. So it's the Clone Wars meets Ash Ketchum. Okay. Okay, John Williams, calm down. But... The reason that it's titled that, two reasons why it's titled that. First off, it's actually because they actually had the legal right to call it Fallout Equestria.
Huh.
Yeah. Ends up Bethesda only when Fallout 4 came out had the copyright for Fallout being a downloadable service. They didn't hold copyright for downloadable service. They only had it for distribution by disc.
Right.
Weird thing. So they actually could have been called Fallout Equestria the game. They were calling it long before the copyright was instated, so they have right. But they decided they're not going to start that because that's legal nonsense. The other reason is because I'm sure one of them liked Ashes of the Singularity, and just, hey, that's a cool title. Let's add that to the game.
All right.
But yes, I've played it. I've played all of the waves except for the first one because the first one was only by invite through one of the conventions, and I have never been to a convention because I just don't have the money. That's true.
Bravo. All right. Jonathan House says, what are each of your favorite Fallout games? And Chris, what is your favorite side fic?
My favorite Fallout games, this is going to have to be a weird split because it's really difficult separating the old and the new. I mean, seeing them collectively. It's easy to separate them. So I'd say you really have to go with Fallout 2 and Fallout 3 as my favorites because it's so hard to compare the two. The gameplay is completely different. The storytelling is completely different. The technology really lent itself to a completely different style, approach, and completion. So it's like saying, what do you prefer, solitaire or sliding down a plastic slide? It's like,
yeah. What's your favorite side fic?
Favorite side fic. Now that one's been an interesting one because I think somebody else also asked that. They said it was the same person. They said, I've mentioned Project Horizons. Project Horizons is interesting because at the very end I felt like I was just trudging through it, but I started out loving it. So like there's a part in the story where I've said this before where everything switches. Like part of Somber, the author, just switches. I loved the first half of it. I would definitely recommend at least getting started and seeing if you enjoy it. I won't blame you if you quit or you just decide, you're not going to finish it past a certain point. But my favorite that I actually have to give it to is Guise of Chaos because it like summarizes so much of what Fallout Equestria is into like this nice little boiling pot of stew of my post-apocalypse pony, and it's a little bit over the top. The characters are almost cardboard and cookie cutter, But if you want that kind of thing, if you just want that kind of story, it's almost guilty. It's just, it's beautiful. It's lovely.
And I'll show off some of my homemade cosplay swag. So, yeah, Vault 101. I'm a Fallout 3 guy through and through.
And obviously the Talons merc with
show it up. People can't really see it. Lift up. Yeah, you're a Talon Company merc.
With Property of God, GAWD on my shoulder.
I played them all. You all have heard my complaints about New Vegas before, and Fallout 4 did companions better than any of the other games, but Fallout 4 has its problems. In fact, I played Fallout 4 and really had no motivation to go find Sean, and then I was like, oh yeah, I need to go find my son, because that's the thing, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of criticism.
I told you, I kind of play Fallout like a sociopath.
That being said, Dead Money is the best DLC.
Yeah.
I mean, even for the fact that I can hate everything, all this stuff about New Vegas, and I do.
The pit's not bad, but yeah.
The pit was weird, but yeah, no, Dead Money just like completely and totally inverted the world space, and you're like, oh, I forgot this world is actually not happy. It's not nice. You can actually die very easily here.
Okay, Walter White has questions about predictions for later in the story. We've already covered that, but thank you, Walter White, for the question. Let's see here. Tinker asks, is there any particular topic you would be interested in the book and delving into? I would love to see virtual world space, similar to the vault that was the trap. Like the vault was the virtual world. You remember that?
Something Lane, not Memory Lane.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's from Fallout 3.
Yeah,
I thought that was
Von
really
Braun's
interesting.
Vault.
Yeah, and in Fallout, there's a lot of mind playing and putting people's minds in other bodies and trickery and robo brains and trickery like that. So I'd like to see that. I think that'd be really interesting. I've already mentioned also that I'd really love to see synths, but because synths have always been a part of the story. It's just until Fallout 4, we never had really much of an explanation for it. They kind of drew back the curtain from that. What about yourself?
I don't remember if synths were in Fallout 1 or 2, but I don't remember.
Could have been. There's references. Anyways, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really have. I mean, I've read it. So what can I say?
All right, and Almanac Pony has a bunch of questions here, so let's see what we can get to. All right, Robert, what are your thoughts on the story's attention to detail in regards to its lore and how it relates to classic Fallout? And which games do you think it takes most heavily from? Obviously, I see lots of Fallout 3. And there's definitely elements of New Vegas. That's probably the strongest that I would say.
Yeah,
I didn't.
We aren't at the point where it starts going into some of the other Fallouts as much. That will come about, but yeah, no, definitely the consumption of the book is definitely from all of the games, because I think even if I remember right, I never used any of the skill books in Fallout 2 because they had like the magazines in Fallout New Vegas where they weren't a permanent skill bump; they were temporary, and so I'm like, I might need these later. And then I have like 5 big books of science, and I'm like, well, I can't. Jesus, my inventory.
Yeah, they do no good to me now. One more thing. Let's see here. Chris, have you been surprised by Robert's reactions to any particular parts?
I haven't been surprised, but I have been pleased. I'm glad that you've been enjoying it. I'm glad that you've been accepting of it. That you see the flaws, and you're like, oh, they're flaws, but whatever. We can keep going with this. It's nice. Yeah. The rest of it doesn't detract from the rest of the story.
All right. And last but not least, are there any parts that you feel like I've overlooked or forgotten or things that you wish that I had paid more attention to, or that we need to cover? Obviously not
yet. Not yet. And honestly, if that happens, I'll probably bring it up in the episode following, not at the time.
Okay.
There are multiple chapter arcs that are happening or will happen, that kind of thing. At which point I'll be like, hey, don't you remember when that was a thing? But honestly, I'd be ashamed if you missed those, because like that's our entire film style is Chekhov's gun and remembering. That's the reason that we were just earlier talking about what was that movie? Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
Hot Fuzz has a lot of plant return.
Yeah, that whole movie is plants. It's one of the things I like watching. That I like about watching it is that every time I go back, I notice new things, new setups.
Shaun of the Dead's the same way, where they will do plants. It's not as vocal, so like they'll do events and it would be redoing. But like Hot Fuzz, it's literally a sentence, and then they will redo that
Yeah.
sentence.
Well, and the thing, that's called a callback. One of the things I love that they do is they like to take the mundane and make them seem action packed. So it's like I'm getting ready for work, and it's like slap cut, swish, swish. It's all
Hyper zoom, zoom back, zoom in.
heavy sound effects. You're not just hearing somebody brush your teeth; you're hearing them like grind the toothbrush on their teeth.
Musical stings. I mean,
Yeah, so that's what I like. So that's been the wrap up. I think we're ready to roll forward into book 2.
Yep.
How many books, how many books are there?
5.
5. So we got 4 more books to get through.
And they're much larger than the first book.
So what you're saying is there may be more than 40 more episodes.
Yeah. In this next book,
are you in it for the long haul?
You're going to you're going to really enjoy this next book. The following book is going to be it's probably one of my favorite of the story, even though I'm like, yeah, you'll see.
Okay,
you'll see.
Cool.
I love them all. I love the entire story. So obviously, I'm here for that reason.
Well, for those of you who made it to the end of this episode, thanks so much for watching. For everyone else, thanks for watching the show in general. We love your comments. We love the engagement. If there's an idea you have for a segment in the show, something we'd like to include or you'd like to see in the future, please let us know in the comments below. I don't have anything else to add. What about you?
Not much. Just remember, ask your questions if you have them. We'll comment and try to get back to you as best we can. Remember that we also have a Twitter and
that's right. Yeah, we have the Twitter, which is coming on the screen now. We have the Libsyn, which is the hosting site for the podcast. You can find the podcast on Google Play and iTunes. So, of course, those of you who are listening to the podcast, you can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Crisco Brand Biscuits.
Yep.
We made that name a long time ago.
It was a very long time ago.
Yeah, it was for a, what do we call it, a powderless biscuit mix?
I barely remember it.
It was some stupid ad we made up years ago. All right, well, for that, I'm Robert. This is Chris.
I thought I was Robert.
Oh, that's right. We're switched up. So for Robert, I'm Chris, and you have tuned in to episode 11 of The Foally of Man. We'll see y'all next week when we start book number 2. Oh yeah. Let me show off the back sweat.
Shame.
Shun the non-believer. All right, later, y'all.
It's all over, but the cry